Things are really heating up down on the bayou as the Cajun car enthusiasts let the good times roll at a racetrack whose name makes it clear that cool rides and quick racing are literally no problem. This is the Menards Chevy Show, where we tour the country to find the finest race cars and rides that are part of the Bowtie breed. Welcome to this week's Menards Chevy Show. We have taken a trip across the country and down south to Belrose, Louisiana, and No Problem Raceway. Now, this facility is way out, away from anything, but you know what? It managed to bring in all kinds of beautiful rides that we're going to check out here today, from older Chevys to awesome trucks and even some drag racing. And what do you say? Let's get our first award winner. In our travels, we encounter many deserving winners of the Moonshine Sweet Tea Sweet Ride Award. But here in Louisiana, Bobby Richard took things to the next level. You know, half the fun sometimes of getting to one of our Menards Chevy shows is what we're riding in. And the tow rig, you guys have really set the bar here. Hi, Bobby. Tell us about your truck.
It's a 1946 Chevrolet, 1 ton. I've just been wanting something like that for a long time, just something to pull the other rides with.
And of course, when you went big, you had to go big on the stacks. Talk about that whole process.
My goal is to make everything uniform, from the tanks to the stacks to the wheels and everything.
When you look at building something like this, I mean, you talk about everything being custom. Right back to the gooseneck hitch. That's a pretty cool looking hitch. What gave you the idea to do it like that?
Well, the hitch was mostly my buddy Popeye, Cody Stoots, the Popeye Ride Shop. He built the whole thing handmade and all that. And it worked very well.
Whose idea was it for the paint and to do the paint like it was?
It was the original color, and they talked me into leaving it that way. I was going to go black with it at first, and then they wanted to make it to a certain show, so we cut the time down and just cleared over what we had.
Well, we take a look at this beautiful truck, and we look at what you're towing, and you've got a couple of cool rides. Touch a little bit on both of them.
The first one's a 1931 cool little rat rod, and that's my brother's. The second one's my 1950 Chevrolet. It's got a LT1 motor in it, sitting on a S10 chassis. It rides pretty good too.
Congratulations to Bobby Richard and his truck, trailer, and twin hot rods on being honored as the Moonshine Sweet Tea Sweet Ride winner here today. A numbers matching 67 Camaro, man, that is just awesome. And for some people, that's what they're after. Others like to have a little bit of fun with their Camaros, but I'll tell you what, our first producer's pick, they had a ton of fun.
Just recently got it back here in the last 6 or 8 months. It was built by Twin States Rod Shop in Meridian, Mississippi. They had it roughly about 2 years. I had them do a lot more to the car than I originally expected as far as money goes, but that engine in it is built by one of the NASCAR teams that I had personally worked for back years ago. So it's a 496 stroker motor that I had to put in along with the matching transmission for that particular motor.
The interior is stunning.
Well, it should be stunning. The gentleman that was going to do the interior tried to give him $10,000, and he basically refused to do the car because he says, if I can't make the interior represent the exterior on the car, you might ought to find somebody else. But unfortunately, it turned out to be $18,000. But to my surprise, he picked out the interior colors, and I went back, and I was very happy.
Yeah, a modernized 68. And mentioning the paint on the outside, how did you come to choose those colors?
Yeah, this top is Aurelian silver, and the bottom is Galaxy gray. And then we had a couple of guys come out of Tennessee over there to break those two colors up with that stripe you see on there. They spent 20 hours on it. $1,200 later, I had a pretty stripe on my car.
We still have plenty more of the Menards Chevy Show to come, including a 57 Bel Air that has undergone some serious surgery. We'll be right back to the Bayou.
The Menards Chevy Show is being brought to you by Z-Max, the one product for your engine, transmission, and fuel system. EVAPO-RUST, super safe rust remover. Steele Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by Dustless Blasting, it's the future of surface preparation.
Welcome back to the Menards Chevy Show, coming to you from No Problem Raceway in Belrose, Louisiana. You know, Corvettes are aplenty here, whether you're into the C7s of the brand new Grand Sports or you like the C5s. We happen to like our next award winner. This week's winner of the Duracell Crank It with the Copper Top Award goes to Jim Fox and his Blue Beauty, a 1970 Corvette. Jim, give us the really interesting backstory on the first owner of this car.
Well, I'd always wanted a blue Corvette with chrome bumpers. So when I found this one, it was the one that was for me. You know, very original car, 454 engine, 4-speed, air conditioning, and a lot of paperwork. So when I got home and was looking through the paperwork, I had the name and address of the original owner of the car. And I said, well, what's the odds that this person's going to still live there 36 years later? But I decided to send a letter, and the wife of the original owner still lived there. So she wrote me a letter back telling me that her fiance was in Vietnam, and thinking of buying this car is what helped him get through Vietnam. And the first thing he did was buy it when he got home, and it was the last possession he had of anything of value that he had to sell to pay medical bills and living expenses. And he died shortly after he sold it. And so every time I get in this car, I can't help but think about how happy he must have been when he bought it and how sad he must have been when he sold it. And it's corny, but I feel like I'm the caretaker of this car. You know, I'll probably never sell it. And I retired 2 years ago, and my first retirement project was to build a little go-kart for my grandson that matches the car, in hopes that someday we'll go to the car shows together, and when I'm waxing on mine, he'll be waxing on his. And he's 2 years old, but one day, that's my dream.
Do you have anything that you are looking to do to this car other than just enjoy it?
I don't want to do anything to it. I just maintain it. Anything that has to be done to it is replaced with original, new old stock. I don't want to do nothing to it.
Jim Fox should be proud of his Blue Bayou Beauty, and they definitely deserve the Duracell Crank It with a Copper Top Award here today at No Problem Raceway. Sometimes we come to these shows and we won't see any Novas at all. But at this particular show, we not only see street ones, race ones, but also some very rare ones. The Rock Auto Restored Award is up next, and our winner here at No Problem Raceway is Barry Whitaker and his 1963 Chevy 2 Nova.
It is a rare car. It's a 1 year only SS Nova convertible. It took me 3 years to find this car in original condition with the original motor, original air-cooled power glide transmission in it, and original interior.
You know, because when they came out with the Novas, they did have a convertible the very first year, but it wasn't an SS.
That's correct. The first year was a 62, was a power top model 400 convertible, and they came out in 63, was the first and only year the SS convertible.
And a lot of people say, no, wait a minute, this can't be an SS. It's got an inline six in it.
That's the biggest question I get. Everybody wants to know, where's the V8? Is the SS is supposed to have a V8? And V8 wasn't an option. In 63, four-cylinder, 194 cubic inch, which I have, and a 230 cubic inch was the only 3 engines available. It's a 120 horsepower motor, not like my drag race car that I drag race, but it's a peppy little car.
How is it to cruise around with the top down? Do you get a lot of looks because of it being kind of a rare vehicle?
I do get a lot of looks at it. People do double takes because a lot of people have never seen a convertible Nova before.
A lot of neat things that you have got for this car over the years from Rock Auto. Tell us about some of them.
I check Rock Auto first when I need something, and one of the hardest things to find was the windshield wiper blades. I got from Rock Auto, and they were actually aluminum windshield wiper blades, and instead of the plastic ones they sell nowadays at most of the other auto parts. And Rock was one of the places that I looked and found it.
Barry Whitaker and that unique Nova are certainly deserving of the Rock Auto Restored Award here today in Cajun Country. It's no surprise when you come to a show like this to see magnificent Tri-5s everywhere, just like this beautiful 55 convertible. But you know what? The one right next to it has a very interesting story, albeit a short one. You know, I'm walking along and all of a sudden I found a car that I think was made for me. I'm always getting told I'm short all the time. Pierre, this is awesome. How did you decide to make this 57 Chevy shorter?
Well, I wanted a convertible and I couldn't afford the real thing, so I bought the four-door car out of a horse pasture for $300, and I took the back doors out and decided I would cut it through the back doors and shorten it to make me a short convertible similar to the 57 Thunderbird.
The drivetrain itself, how difficult was that to tie everything together?
Well, it was quite a task. We had to cut the chassis and figure out exactly where the body mounts would go, and then we had to cut the drive shaft to fit, and a lot of calculating,
Do you get a lot of double takes?
Yes, I do. They pass by, and then they stop, turn around, and come back and start looking and ask me, what is it? You know, is this a 2017 version of a Chevrolet? No, it's a 1957 Chevy that I modified.
Coming up, we'll discover an impressive Impala when the Menards Chevy Show returns to Louisiana. Welcome back to the Menards Chevy Show, coming to you from No Problem Raceway in Belrose, Louisiana. Guys have their toys, girls have their toys. And this particular lady, well, she likes one of the bigger cars that Chevy came out with. And our next award winner was back when the big Chevys were definitely classy. The Gunk Tough and Trusted Award here today at No Problem Raceway goes to Chuck Falcon, whose 1960 Impala has made quite an impression.
1960 Impala, it is the original color code, the original engines in it. Did come with the original Power Glide, but we replaced that with the 700R transmission. And as you can see, the license plate is the 1960 Louisiana license, centennial year of LSU, so it is an original plate to Louisiana at that time.
This was not the car that you were shopping for, but you fell in love. Why?
Because of the wings and the, you know, the body lines, the wings actually, I guess, more than anything, made a nice show, you know, and it's unique only to 2 years. 59 to 60, it was only 2 years had the wings like this.
What about that keychain? There's a special story there.
Yeah, that keychain actually was an original keychain in that year to the dealership. It was in Donaldsonville Chevy dealer, and that was actually the keychains that they handed out at the time.
How in the world did you come across that?
An old friend of mine worked there, and I called her up and said, hey, you wouldn't have any keychains left? She said, I'll dig, and she dug in her kitchen drawer, and she came up with 2 of them, and that I could actually make 1 out of the 2. And so that's how I came to get that.
Tell us about how she drives.
Oh, it drives. It's beautiful. I mean, you can get out on the interstate and just go anywhere in the country you want to go with it. It just glides right along. And if you notice the jet streams, that back then there's a story that you know, they came out with the jet. It was supposed to be, you know, just a super go-get-it car, so they came out with the jet fins and tails and things, and the fins on by the back glass is supposed to represent that also.
Congratulations to Chuck Falcon and his 60 Impala on winning the Gunk Tough and Trusted Trophy here at No Problem Raceway. So it seems that most of the big cars seem to be old cars, like these 2 beautiful rides here. And you know what? We have found one, of course we're in Louisiana, that has a little blue voodoo magic.
Well, this is a car that we restored. We widened it a little 3 inches in each side and the back, welded it up. We have a throttle body fuel injection on it, a Heights rack and pinion, seats out of a Suburban, so it's a nice and roomy car compared to most street rods. Just a nice, big, fun car to have.
What made you decide to widen it in the back? What would have been the benefit of that?
Well, we could put larger tires in it, plus these particular style cars were narrower in the back than the front, and I just didn't like that look. So, you know, we widened it and welded it up instead of just being bolted on. So it just gives it a nice, clean look, you know, make it a street rod. This project probably took about 10 months to do. Of course, it has power seats, power windows, cruise control, you know, little conveniences like that. And something a bit unusual is right in the middle of the dash there is actually where the radio speaker used to be. Well, we incorporated that into the air conditioning vent, so it still has the same look, and instead of the radio.
Boy, there are plenty of Chevelles to see at a show like this, and if I could find a 67 Chevelle like this for the sticker price of $2,800 and add the options in for $4,300, man, I'll take about 10 of them. Or how about this 1970 Chevelle? So many great things to see, just like our next award winner. Our next award winner today here in Louisiana is Renaud Brejon, whose Superstock Chevelle is well deserving of the OPGI Original Award here today. See a lot of very awesome modified vehicles when we come to a Menards Chevy show, but it's the ones that are close to stock that really stand out for me. And this 67 Chevelle SS is absolutely gorgeous. Tell us about your car.
It's a true SS car, 138 code, and I've been having the car for 10 years.
Now, why this vehicle for you?
In 1972, my wife and I got married. We had one identical to this. And when I retired, my wife bought me this for retirement present in 07.
But you changed a few things once you found the vehicle.
Right, I put a different air breather on, I put a black vinyl top on it. But the car was solid red when I bought it.
Oh, now, where were you able to find those parts?
From original part.
You have a pretty interesting story on going to pick up the vehicle.
Yes, on the way up there, it was 2.5 hours away from picking the car up. We got caught in a snowstorm. I hit some black ice on the overpass, turned the dually and the trailer over. Thank God the car wasn't on the trailer. We would have lost it.
Tell us about enjoying the car.
Well, we enjoyed it. We cruised a lot in it, my wife and I. Go to local shows.
This car has a unique history that it sat around for a while.
I stayed in the museum for about 12 years on a rotisserie, and the gentleman that had it traded another gentleman for a 62 Corvette, and then he sold the car after he had it.
Do you have any future plans for the vehicle?
I wish my wife could bury me in it. I'll never sell it.
Congratulations to Renaud Brejon and his 67 Chevelle for being declared the winner of the OPGI Original Award here today. Stay with us because after a short break, we'll turn our attention to trucks when the Menards Chevy Show returns to No Problem Raceway.
Menards Chevy Show is being brought to you by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977. Clamp Tight, the clamp making tool. Borla, the world's most winning exhaust. And by Gen Y Hitch, towing made easy.
And we're back with more of the Menards Chevy Show here at Belrose, Louisiana, and No Problem Raceway. You know, it's all about trucks as well when we come to these shows. And you take a look at this one, is this a wrap or is this paint? Well, either here or there, this guy definitely has burning love for his ride. And we love trucks, and let's check out our next award winner. The winner of the LMC Truck Life Award is Gina Gaspard, and her 63 C10 pickup is a labor of love and a terrific truck.
We started about 5 years ago, bought it as a shell basically, and have refurbished it from the ground up. So we did all of the work underneath the hood. My husband rebuilt the transmission. We redid the tailgate, the back end, and put down wooden floors. It's been a great joy to own and to, display at the shows.
So who got to pick what? Since this was kind of a project between you and your husband, when it came to color, was that you? Was that him? About the drivetrain? Tell me about that.
Listen, all of the color was him, and honestly, the motor and everything else, a lot of it was just right over. He said, look, this will look good. And I'm like, all right, that does look real pretty, So we started with his. We've rebuilt 4 of them total so far, so we're just on a roll, and we enjoy every minute of it.
I take a look at the interior. You kept it very, very stock looking, but you also added the gauges because you want to keep a good eye on that big block.
We do, and that's exactly right. Nothing worse than being cruising up the coast and having your tags run up to hot, because it happens to everybody. So we definitely do. We try to keep up with all that, and we do have a good stereo system in there because, you got to have a little music when you're on the road.
What was it like trying to find the shell for this truck?
We spent a couple of years. We really weren't positive what we were looking for. We knew that we wanted it to be the older model Chevy, and we wanted it to be a pickup. We wanted the sharp base. We didn't want the step side. So we were a few things like that. But we finally found this truck out of Tennessee, made a trip up there, purchased it, brought it back. It was mainly a blue color with a lot of, where they finishing them up, but not actually painting. So we brought it home, and then that's where we started. So we took the body off of the chase of it. It started basically from the ground up, changed the suspension in it, changed all of the steering, made it where it was, it's got everything but air conditioning, and we're working on that.
Congrats to Gina Gaspard and her superb C10 on being named the LMC Truck Life Award winner here today in Louisiana. You know, we've seen a great amount of beautiful show cars, but here at No Problem, they have a great bracket racing program and lots of events all year round. Let's find out more.
You know, a lot of racetracks are closed this time of year, but this is our busy time. And we're going to race into mid-December. And then we take a little break for the holidays, and we start it up again in January. So it doesn't stop all year.
No Problem is a very interesting name for a racetrack. Give us the background on that.
Well, the gentleman that built this place, Mr. Pat Joffrion, just believed that there weren't going to be any problems here. So somebody asked him a question or needed something, his answer was always no problem. So just stuck, and that became the name.
And unfortunately, you guys have dealt with some things here over the past couple of weeks. Give us a little idea about the memorial service.
Our friend and our track manager, Stevie Ray, passed away this past week. And he's been a part of this track since it was built and a big part of our racing family. So we lost a good guy. But we'll work through it. He'd want it no other way and, you know, move forward. And we're going to have a memorial race in his name in a couple of weeks during the Thanksgiving weekend and, you know, carry his name forward.
So there are many vehicles here that are definitely all about the show, but we are at No Problem Raceway. So what about the ones that come here for show and go, like our next producer's pick? Well, when I got picked up from the airport, I was going to take an Uber, but not necessarily like what Mike has here. Mike, is this like an Uber XXL ride?
Oh, this is one of the premium packages right here. To ride in this is really costly, so get your points up, people. You're going to need them.
What, that's not a 396 in there? Come on.
Oh, no, we're a little bigger. It's a Shafraw 582 HHR engine, and it's got one of Chris Straub's hydraulic roller cams in, which really woke it up, so it's really doing very good. It's actually a pump gas motor. I can drive it anywhere and just fill it up and go. It works really well for a street car, and it's a street car. I drive it around. Got 2 stages of laughing gas. We're going to do 150 on the first stage at launch. Second stage is engaged later down the track. So we've total of 300 horsepower on top of what the engine is making itself. Had a good friend of mine, Lonnie Taylor, did the Turbo 400 for me. It's got a cone 9-inch converter, 4800 flash in it, and we got a 12-volt out back with a 4-link suspension and 410 gears in the back. And it works really good for a street car. It's a fun ride, definitely a fun ride.
Well, that's all the time we have for this week's episode of the Menards Chevy Show. We've enjoyed having you along, and you know what? We only have one more time. We're going to head back out on the road next week to Ace Cafe in Orlando, Florida. We'll see you then.